Welcome
Alrighty.
to... I'll do my introduction again. So after being rudely interrupted on my introduction, here we go. Welcome to the Fitness Solution. I have a wonderful guest for you today on the podcast. Her name is Beth, and I would attempt her second name, but I'm not sure I can pronounce it correctly. And she's from Maine in New England, which is a beautiful part of the world. And we've only just recently connected, actually. So this is going to be a really good chat. Us kind of getting to know each other, but also talking all about the back and forths of why I've got Beth on, and that is to talk about addiction, alcoholism, fitness, coming through things like that, and all the rest of it. Because Beth's got an astounding story that is well worth hearing, listening to, and understanding. So let's say hey.
Hey.
Excellent. There you go. Yeah, that was your
What's
cue.
happening?
Good. Well, thank you for coming on. Have you had a good day?
Yes, thank you. Yes. I'm in a bit of a workout funk these days, so I'm trying to fight that. I don't know what's going on, but you know how that works.
Yeah. Why is that? What's going on there? What do you think?
I don't know. I have no idea. I think it's maybe because I'm working from home now, and my gym is in my basement, and that's I can get really sidetracked, and then I'll go down there, and then I'm on the phone like working, and then it's just nothing's really effective at this point.
One of the best tips I ever heard about, kind of like if you are trying to train from home and stuff like that, is get everything ready. Like get your washing done or get it out of my or whatever. Just like what you need to do is you need to leave your house, then put on some music or whatever, go for a walk around the block, and then walk back into your house. Once your house is fully set up for you to work out in, walk back into your house with the sole intention of almost like you are now at the gym. And it is your home, but you're now in the gym and you've kind of changed that environment, but you have to leave the environment, then kind of cleanse yourself of the environment and then come back into that environment with that intention. Almost the same way we do like drive to the gym, don't we? We walk to the gym. Give yourself a journey to the gym, even though it's back to your own house. And that might just help give you a different energy for when you are there. Because I know what it's like. You wake up and you roll out of bed and you're like, oh, I need to go lift the weights that are in my back garden or whatever, and you just can't be bothered. I'm exactly the same. If I'm not in a gym, I'm not working out. That's just life. Unless I'm going for a run. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I'm going to try that. That's a good idea.
There you go.
Just to get out first and then come back in.
Good. I like to think I've got a few good ideas up my sleeve. So who knows what we'll both learn today?
Exactly. Learn something new. Hey, perfect.
Exactly. So Beth, tell us about yourself. Tell us your story. Tell us where you're from, how you got here. Let's have the last however many years in about. Can you do it in like 2 minutes? Is that okay?
Let's see. Where should I start? Should I start like where my fitness journey began? How I became sober and like quickly go into that?
Start wherever you desire. Honestly, you've got longer than 2 minutes. I promise you.
Okay. All right. So let's start from the beginning, just of I guess my fitness journey, like becoming sober. Let's see, I was 42, so 5 years ago. I'm 47 now.
Wow.
And
there's no way you're 47.
I'm 47. It's crazy.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, sorry, for those listening, that's crazy. We're on a video chat here. Beth does not look 47 years old. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm almost 50. It's nuts. I definitely don't feel 47. But, so I had a young, child at the time. He was probably 3 or 4. He's 8 now. So yeah, it's like 3 or 4. And his like from birth till then, it was very like a difficult child. Like he has like sensory stuff. So I never slept. Like I always felt like I had a crying baby. I was a stay-at-home mom and I started drinking a lot. Like we're talking, a bottle would turn into like 2 bottles. Mm-hmm. And then, I would show up at like these like story times, hungover, and it's like, holy shit. And then I couldn't wait till like 3 o'clock to start drinking again. It was that kind of, and it went on.
Did you always kind of like think 3 o'clock is the point at which I start drinking?
I just felt like, all right, like close to dinner time, I was like ready. Yeah. It's like, all right, let's go.
Was that also kind of like a justification in your head? Do you think that it was like, it's fine. I've got it under control because I'm waiting until 3 o'clock, right? I'm not an alcoholic drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, totally. And let's just say like a backstory, like before becoming a mom and stuff, I was in Los Angeles. I was a fashion designer
Oh,
for
wow.
a little bit. And, I worked in a bar. I lived the bar life, the fast lane. So I was always like, kind of like a drinker anyway, drugs, but didn't carry that on. The drug part was like gone a while ago. It was the drinking that kind of carried on into like my married life and then kid life. It was like, you can't party like that now. Right. But I still was.
Right.
So, except when I was pregnant and breastfeeding,
Yeah.
I did not do that. But, so one day, what happened? We were at a cookout. It was August. I had like a bottle of wine and I drove home with I have a stepdaughter and my son in the car. And I woke up the next day. I don't fucking remember.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? I could have killed them. I could have killed me. Something needs to stop. So I think a few days later, it was like August 21st, that I was like, all right, I'm done. I walked into an AA meeting. It was like right down the street from my house. They had a meeting every day at 7, and I walked in and I went there every day for a year.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just dove right in. And during that time, I met a girl named Allison. She was like, we're doing a boot camp every 5:30 in the morning, every day. So I ended up going to like a boot camp type fitness thing at 5:30 in the morning. We would do a lot of running. So I started getting into running. So did this 5 days a week, went there from 5:30 to 6:30, and then went right to my meetings. So I ended up doing like 5Ks, 10Ks, my first half marathon, all that stuff throughout that year.
Wow.
And
in a year, you got all that together in a year.
Yeah, I did.
That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah. I'm that kind of, the addiction, like
Yeah,
it's
of
that
course.
my like mentality, like, let's just go,
Yeah.
So she ended up getting a job somewhere far away, so we couldn't meet anymore. So there was actually a new gym that opened up across the street from me where I live. So that was kind of convenient. I ended up getting a membership there. And then I got a job working behind the desk. And then from there, my boss, his name Hunter, he's actually in the mentorship.
Okay.
Hunter Grindle.
Big shout
asked
out,
if
Mr. Hunter.
Yes, what's up, Hunter? He asked if I wanted to start interning, like, and become a trainer. I was like, yeah, I'd love to. And that kind of like how that started. I started interning. I started taking a nutrition course because at the same time, I was trying to lose weight, and I noticed like other members were working really hard and they were in the same boat as me. Like, why can't we lose weight? So that was my goal. It's like, I'm going to figure out how to do this. So during my nutrition course, this is when I met Jordan, got involved with the Inner Circle. And I started doing one of his Unicorn Strong challenges. And, he has a whole setup with like nutrition and, and you need to scale and you need to track. And I was like, oh, wow. So I started doing it. And I was like, holy shit, I'm eating too much food. Like, it was like that light bulb, like, oh my God, I've never weighed and measured my food before. Like, I can't have 2 servings of rice and like all this avocado oil and, all this other stuff. It's like, okay, let's try this. Let's try this. And I ended up losing like 8 pounds. And then, it just kind of went from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and now what is it you do?
So now I'm actually a Mike Boyle strength and conditioning coach, and I have my nutrition cert as well as a personal training cert, which I would not recommend anyone try to get one of those online. I did it because I was like, there were some people like saying that, you don't have a personal training cert. And I was like, screw you, I'm going to get a freaking personal training cert, and everyone's telling, like, the people that know are like, you don't need that. I'm like, yeah, but fuck them. I'm going to show them, So I got it in the middle of it. I was like, wow, they're so right. This is such a waste.
Yeah.
Because it's so dated,
Yep. It's very poor information, isn't it? I always say, it's a lot like driving. You don't learn to, you don't really learn to drive a car until you're on the road on your own. You don't learn to be a personal trainer until you're in the gym with someone, no matter how.
Exactly. And I was already in the gym and I was learning from people there. And, you know, the Mike Boyle cert was an in-person cert. So I learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, that's where I'm at with that.
Perfect. What a story. What a story.
Did you get all that, Adam?
I did. I think it's all in my brain. So let's rewind the clock. Then let's like, as long as you don't mind, and we'll talk about it. So what was the process of kind of, do you think you really needed that kind of car crash, literal car crash, wake up call, or do you think and then what was the process of basically getting sober? Like, talk us through that whole year, because it's so interesting, because I went through like a period in my life where it lasted maybe about 8 months where I was teetotal. Like I had 0% beer and things like that, but I really enjoyed the challenge of not drinking alcohol, not because I was addicted to it, but really just, I think it's important that we go through periods of restriction and stuff like that with certain things that you do. And for me, I think it was a good thing for me to do. So I'm very interested in hearing people's stories about getting sober and stuff, and alcoholism and things. I read a great book on it called The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober. And the information in that was just incredible about alcohol and what it can do to us and stuff. So what was getting sober like?
Well, I think like leading up to that day, like I would always try. I'd always be like, all right, I'm going to go 30 days. And I could never make it past like a week. Right. At that point, I really felt like my body, like it was actually taking over more. It was more than me just saying, I'm not doing this anymore. Like it was really, I was an addict, you know, truly. I mean, on and off for a long time. And I never really dealt, like my dad passed away suddenly when I was 18, like 4 days before graduation from high school. And that kind of like set me off on this whole like tangent for years. I never really dealt with it.
Right.
And so I think, you know, it was just a lot of dealing with my past. And I just felt like it was time. All right. I always felt lonely, even though I was married, I had a child. I just was not happy. So, and then getting sober just kind of made me realize a lot of things that I was just living in the past and not dealing with grief and that kind of stuff.
I'm sorry to hear.
So yeah,
father, that's a horror. I'm just ever so sorry to hear about your father, and it had that effect on you. That must have been very hard to kind of come to terms with. For sure, yeah. Have you had? Was it like literally on off, or during that year of sobriety, or getting clear?
I was completely sober. I've never relapsed. Knock on wood.
Did you come close?
Close to a relapse?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, no. Excellent. So it was literally.
I was so done.
Rules up.
Yep.
That's done. Fantastic. Why? And do you think fitness helped you with that? Oh, for sure. In what ways? For sure. Well, the funny thing is when I was going to college in Arizona, when I was that's right after my dad passed away, maybe a year later, I was 19, and my major was nutrition. Right. Okay. But I quit that and moved to California, and that's when it was like, woohoo, party! Yeah. I'm in Cali, right? So I quit school. That never happened, and I think it's always been in my blood. Like I've always loved the nutrition part, and it just kind of came full circle, I guess. That's very sweet, isn't it? Yeah, it is, right? Did you feel like you had some unfinished business? Yeah, I guess so. Like it felt like, all right, I'm right where I need to be. This is it. And then, you know, through me helping people, it like helps me. In what ways? It helps. Well, it just makes me happy. It keeps me sober, I guess. Like just giving back, just always like being there, because I know what it's like. And I feel like people are addicted in so many different ways to so many different things. And I think food and like alcoholism is closely related when it comes to like binge eating and people addicted to sugar. So they say, and, you know, I've had people actually compare alcoholism with their food addiction.
And it's actually sometimes floored me. They're like, well, what would you do would you be able to drink again? I'm like, well, actually, no. They're like, well, I have to still eat. So you're like, wow, okay. But it's different, like chemical addiction compared to like a fat and sugar, like carbohydrate mix. That's more like palatable to your taste buds. And like alcohol, you can get physically addicted.
Right.
Go through with.
Yeah. But both obviously create like the happy hormone, don't they? I can't remember. It's not melatonin. Is it? So yeah, melatonin. Is it melatonin? It's not.
Serotonin, right?
Yeah, my brain is shot. I'm having brain fart today all the time. Yeah. So like, surely when you indulge in either, you get that hit of serotonin, don't you?
Yep.
And how much of that serotonin hit is masked by alcohol, or how much of it compared to food addictions, or like how does that work? Do you know?
I don't know.
No, fair enough. I thought it was a very
they're both like they say, like, alcoholism is like, it's like a brain disease. So they call it stinking thinking. And I think like food addiction is also still, it's mind, you got to deal with stuff that you're trying to cover stuff up, loneliness, sadness, anger.
Mm-hmm.
With the food. It's like instant gratification, but then it goes away.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting.
It really is.
Like, do you, to a degree, do you kind of think, well, having battled such a big addiction in your life, do you think that you then turn around when someone says, oh, I'm addicted to food, you're like, are you, like, do you think people use it as a convenient excuse sometimes in their lives?
That's the thing. It's like, how can you compare the two?
Because I highly doubt these people have ever been actually addicted to a drug.
Right.
I mean, they might have, I don't know. I know I'm talking in general terms, but
yeah.
Have you ever been addicted to food?
No.
Okay, so you can't even draw a parallel between the two.
Right. Yeah.
How interesting. What kind of behaviors do you see that is the same, and what kind of behaviors do you see that is different?
It's like that pull back to, I feel like some of them get pulled, like they can't have it, or they can't stop.
Right.
Yeah.
But
it's more of like your stomach knows when to stop, right? For food, you get full.
Like
it's your brain you have to tell yourself to stop.
Yeah.
Like with like alcohol, like your body actually needs it. Like your body's telling you something, like give me, because I'm addicted. And like with the food, your stomach is actually trying to tell you, stop feeding me.
Interesting. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Right.
And the only way to undo that is completely cut it off.
Or, it's the thinking that something's bad, that whole restriction from it. And then you want it. When you have it, you don't stop eating it because you feel like it's not good. I think that has a lot to do with it. People label food so much, and I've noticed that more and more. And then they also, will call themselves bad or good. I was good today, or I was bad.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a whole like mental thing too. We got to change the way we speak to ourselves and the way that we label things, because that sets the tone.
Gotcha. I mean, that's so massive. I mean, whenever I was in the gym, I used to always say to my clients, like, what's been good this week and what's been not so great this week, because I don't want them to go, it's been good or bad. And then they'll go, well, I've been really bad this week. It's like, oh God, it's not having the effect I need with this. But I mean, so I suppose, would you class alcohol as completely and utterly just bad? Like in your, I suppose it would be, wouldn't it, in your life, if you used to, it's not even worth talking about, to be honest. But
yeah,
I suppose it's bad because it's so off limits, because it's not an option. So it literally is bad. So would you argue it's okay to label that as bad, but then just food that we always have choice over?
Well, I think alcohol
we can't list like that.
I think alcohol is a toxic substance. It really is. I mean,
oh yeah, it's more addictive.
People literally die from it.
Yeah, it's more addictive than any other drug in the world, is alcohol.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't really think it's good, but I mean, yeah, it doesn't do anything good for anybody, really. But then that's just me. I mean, of course it's fun and everything else, but what cost? I don't know. It causes,
No, I agree. It's an interesting discussion.
I can go into a rabbit hole with that, but yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion too. So I just, I don't know. I've seen what it's done to people. I've seen what it's done to me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's not good.
No, I'm much the same in my life too. And it's funny how social it is, isn't it? How socially acceptable it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that makes it a lot harder for people. When I stopped drinking alcohol, it was weird having to justify myself all the time to people. Having to justify, like, even going to a bar and then not having like a 0% beer that I like, because the options of 0% beers are still really quite small, although they are getting better. And it was like, and people would look at me and I'd be like, oh, that's annoying. I'd even say, can we go somewhere else? And they think, what? Why? Just have a beer. And it's like, no, I can't just have a beer. That's not an option. That is not acceptable. So if we go somewhere else, I'm going to have to sit here and have Coke and not enjoy myself as much. But I don't like drinking Coke, so why should I do that? So like I felt constantly compromised the whole time, which was very irritating, mainly because of how society view me as a well, I wasn't teetotal, not like you were, but like just as someone who doesn't indulge in alcohol. Like it's a whole hard barrier to come up against. And then we like seem to accept with people, oh, I'm low carb. Oh, that's okay. Like we don't challenge them like we do if they're not low alcohol or no alcohol, do we? Things like that. It's very strange, the psyche of society.
I know, right? It really is.
Why totally. Is that? In the book The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober, they say in that the governments make so much money off of alcohol. That's why they're always willing to like promote it. Like the UK government have put money into advertising for beer companies and stuff like that, just to keep revenue up. And they've suppressed like negative scientific stories about the negative effects of alcohol. And it's when you're up against the government like that as well, it's just terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're never gonna win. It's very irritating. So what kind of training do you do now? Do you find you attract people who have the same kind of history as you, or do you just work with everyone and anyone? What's
mostly women at my age, like in their 40s, looking for fat loss. That's been right now, and I have a couple that are with me because they're trying to get sober and stuff like that. And
that's cool. What's it like taking them
they can relate.
Journey?
Well, it's just starting with this one, so it's interesting because as a coach and another person in recovery, like their journey is their journey and my journey is my journey, and you just have to let them go through their process. Exactly. So it's pretty cool. I'm super grateful that I can be there.
That's incredible. That's such an honor to be able to give that support.
It really is, to be able to help someone else, because it takes a village. I had a lot of support, and you need that because it's not easy. Like you said, alcohol is everywhere. Like it was very hard in the beginning for me. It was summertime, there's barbecues, there's, you name it, like, nighttime. And you have those trigger times, like the evening, that 3:00 it came around, and I was like, this is the time you normally drank. I stopped cooking for a while because I would usually drink wine while cooking. And it would like set me off. Like, I can't do this. It's just uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I suppose like the other thing that isn't considered is all of those triggers in your life that were there when you was drinking are still there when you're becoming sober. Like, for instance, like you said, like, your son and everything else and the stress of that and stuff, like that wasn't going to go away overnight, and nor should it. So you still have to, you have to, like a lot of people say when they're talking about people trying to get healthy, lose weight, whatever, like a big phrase you hear, and I heard it a lot when I first started personal training, was you can't heal in the same environment that made you sick. But like some people have no choice.
I don't know. Yeah.
Some people have to, right? You can't get rid of children, can you? You can't get rid of, you can't suddenly move house because I'm suddenly got to do this or whatever. And so actually the truth is, no, you need to learn ways of being able to make your environment work for you, the new person that you're becoming, don't you?
Oh yeah, you create new habits.
Yeah.
You know,
and
then, you know, my new habit was fitness and running. I would always make sure that, you know, there was always a race I had to train for, or I always made sure that I made time for myself, because before I don't think I made time for myself and I was suffocating.
Okay.
So I always took like, you know, an hour in the morning and either like ran, walked, or I'd be working at the gym. You know, just self-care is super important. And I really took advantage of that.
Yeah, too right. And you had every right to as well.
You know, yeah.
Did you find you was like replacing that habit of having a glass in the hand or whatever it might be with other kind of little behaviors? Did you do any other idiosyncrasies?
I'm trying to think. I'm not really. No, I never really. I think because at the same time I was working on my relationship with food, so a lot of things were changing. My thought process about a lot of things were different. Yeah. Like I didn't replace it with food, or I might, you know, have drank like 15 La Croix a night.
What is that? What's a La Croix?
La Croix, it's a seltzer. This one's limoncello flavored.
Right. Okay.
So good.
Have you ever had like limoncello from Italy?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's good stuff, isn't it?
I
remember we one of the first holidays I had with my fiance was she wasn't my fiance at the time, she was just my girlfriend. We went to Naples, and we climbed Mount Vesuvius, and then we came into Pompeii, and we ended up in this shop in Pompeii. And literally in Italy, like they'll just hand you limoncello on a tray to try, and it knocked my socks off, and I didn't realize it was like as alcoholic as it was. And I was like, my goodness, like I've got to drive home with that. I was like, God, that's strong.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
Yeah, the real deal too.
Oh yeah, but no. So limoncello, like seltzer, is that just like carbonated water?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So I find I started drinking carbonated water to try and suppress the urge to have a beer every evening.
Yeah. It's my new beer.
Yeah, no, it's a really good trick.
I think I also threw myself in education too, because right at the beginning I was like, you know, getting my nutrition cert, and I was always, you know, studying for something.
Yeah.
So I kind of threw myself in there. So I didn't really have that was my distraction. Running, you know, working at the gym, and my education.
Good stuff. So like, what would be like your 5 top pieces of advice for someone who wants to make a change similar to yours in their lives?
I guess, you know, just admitting that you have a problem, that's okay. I think a lot of people feel it's like shame around it. Yeah. And I know I did for a long time before I even walked in that AA meeting. I was like, maybe that was part of it too. I was like, I felt shame that I couldn't do this on my own. Like, oh, I can't believe I have to go to AA with those people is what I thought.
Yeah.
But it's like, you just have to, you know, let it go and admit. Yeah. And then, you know, just do the work on your mental health. It's super important, because I think that, you know, mental health and fitness and losing weight is really you know, related. Like one doesn't work without the other sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess that would be my one. Just do the work, do the mental work that you need to do. And, you know, just be consistent, and know that this stuff, it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time. Like there's no overnight, you know, I'm like going on 5 years of my fitness journey. And I feel like each year I look different.
In what ways?
I'm leaner. I actually,
Okay.
if you look at my stories on Instagram today, because my time hop reminds me, like, from 4 years ago, there's a picture, then there's one of 3, then of 2, and then I took one today. I was like, wow, that's so crazy, the difference. Like, yeah, take pictures, take photos.
So would you say like documenting your journey, like diarizing?
Documenting, yeah, for sure. Yep.
Yeah, I can imagine that'd be useful. So in the same way, it's useful for someone who's trying to lose weight, like, because you probably don't notice the small steps day in, day out, or month in, month out. But when you look back and you get that hindsight, it can really, really help, can't it?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other great bits of advice?
I'm trying to think on the whim here.
You mentioned just allowing it to be your journey, didn't you? Like, just
don't compare yourself to someone else, because your journey is your journey. And I think people lose the sight of, when they're in the journey, like who they meet and like the experiences they have, the small wins. It's like, those are so important. They get to you. Like, I've met so many cool people, through this whole.
Yeah. Did you find it was really useful in like pulling you into the present? Like, it made you just grateful for like just the small things each and every day, like just the smile from someone, the small conversation here, the small conversation there.
I never really looked
on the big picture. Yeah.
Too far ahead. I've always, because it's one day at a time, right? So you just look at from like day to day, and I just did the work every single day. And I wasn't like, I want to be here at this time. I never really, there wasn't a time in my head. It was just becoming better every day.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. Well, what a lovely chat. How can everyone who's listening to you find out more about you and catch you?
I'm on Instagram at Beth Feraco Fitness. Also, you can check out my website at bethferacofitness.com.
Feraco, that's Feraco.
Feraco. Feraco.
Feraco. Where's that from?
My husband's Italian, so.
Perfect. Whereabouts in Italy is he from?
Well, he's from Rhode Island. I don't exactly know but his Nani, who's 104.
Wow. They live for ages in Italy.
Is still living, So.
That's awesome. So Beth Feraco Fitness.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I'm sure people would love to catch up with you and check you out. And I can't recommend it enough. Her feeds are great. Like, her TikTok's great. Her Instagram's great.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Definitely my social media has been lit up by having your presence on it. That's for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Which is always nice. Thanks so much for your time and your honesty and your generosity today.
Thank you, Adam. It was my pleasure.
Good. Was that my accent?
No.
It sounded English. It was like you're taking the mic.
Did I sound English?
Yeah, it was like, come on, lad, let's go and do a podcast. No, absolutely wonderful. Some really interesting points to think about that I'm sure everyone will just love, and I'm sure they've enjoyed listening to this as much as I've enjoyed having a chat with you. I'll see you very soon, yeah?
Take care, Adam. Talk to you soon.
You too, matey. Ciao.
Bye. Bye.